Here we have artist Willson Cummer with his piece 6 feet 169. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, thanks, Julia. So, yeah. Well, first, thanks to everybody for showing up. This is a great show. Thanks to Donna and Maria and all the staff, Julia. It's an interesting show, and probably most of you know this, is just members. Any member who supports the museum can put work in this show. And you might think that that's could be like a traffic jam or, collision of art forms, but it actually works out really well year after year. I think it was the third year you've done this, Maria, third, fourth, something, yeah. So, and I think what's really wonderful too is that you do art, kind of labor by yourself, like the gentleman said, you go out in the woods, it's all out in the woods, at least for me. And then, then you see other people's work here and you're reminded that, oh yeah, there's this whole community of people weaving tapestries and things that I never even thought of. So this was part of a project called 6 Feet, and it was, I had a show at the Edgewood of this work. Cheryl was really kind enough to put some of this there. The project was designed to be an investigation of what 6 feet, that pandemic distance, actually looks like for the camera. Yeah, and it was funny, I was reading and looking around the world at different ideas, and I didn't see any projects quite like this, but a lot of places it's not 6 feet, it's 2 meters. Well, 2 meters is actually a little bit further than 6 feet. So we're actually the country that has the closest physical distance limit, because everyone else is like 6 feet 4 inches. So for all of the pictures, I set a 6-foot focus and a very shallow depth of field. So if you see the background here is totally out of focus. And the focal plane is right about here, just behind this first cone, and it's right at 6 feet. And so what I did is I just went to all kinds of different places around central New York, and I looked at, just had that camera on that setting and saw, what does that feel like? What does that 6 feet feel like? I chose to do black and white, which I don't normally do, because it just seemed to fit the project a little better. They're all square. They all have that same distance, shallow depth of field. And I find that as a photographer, when I come up with constraints, I often actually get more creative. If I just go out and say, I'm going to do whatever, then kind of usually nothing happens. But from the very beginning, I said they're going to be squares, which I don't like shooting. They're going to be black and white, which I don't have that much interest in. And so after about 6 months, I was really interested in the squares and the black and white. And so that's the kind of thing that tends to happen for me. I go back to the same places over and over, and I get different stuff each time, right? Because it's what's there, but then it's how you think about it. I photographed, this is behind an industrial building, and I had never passed by where the rain had been so heavy that it had created a channel down the street. And I just thought, that's great, with the gravel all channelized and the warning cones trying to, tell us what to do. So the question was, what kind of camera?
Well, it's a 2.25 square.
Well, it's funny. I'm glad you asked in a way, because I feel like we've gotten to this point in photography where, we wonder now about, well, what camera? Was it film? Was it digital? Was it black and white? Was it color? There's so many ways to make a picture now that it sort of becomes, it's not unimportant. I mean, you're a photographer, so you want to know, right? This was a Nikon. So, but I actually used 4 different cameras in the making of the project. And the thing that was unifying them all, I wanted them to look kind of similar, but I had just different reasons for using different ones, and was the 35 millimeter focal length. So it was not a wide angle. I didn't want that. I wanted it to look more like a portrait distance. So at 6 feet, I figured out that, these things start to look more like people, at that narrow angle. So, thanks.